what is a solar eclipse and what does it mean in our culture? A solar eclipse is when the moon covers the sun, and the moon, the sun, and the earth, they're all in one line. And this is, pointed out in our Puranic story, the Puranic story of the churning of the Milky Ocean. There were the Devatas, the good forces, and the Asuras, the evil forces. They were churning this milky ocean to get this pot of Amrita or nectar. And first what comes out is poison, which is drunk by Lord Shiva. Then lots of things, beautiful, splendid things come, like Kamadhenu, the wish-fulfilling cow, and Airavata, the white elephant of Indra. And finally, this pot of Amrita or immortality comes. And Bhagavan Vishnu takes an avatar as Mohini, and she distributes this pot of Amrita to the Devatas. And while she does that, there's one Asura, one demon that snuck in. And he drank some of the Amrita. And when Mohini Avatar found out, she cut off his head. And so his head is Rahu and his body is Ketu. But because he had drunk that Amrita, he has it. It's in him. And so it is said that this Rahu, what he does is he swallows that sun. He swallows that Surya, that sun. And when Rahu swallows that sun, that is called an eclipse. So what does that mean to us? Why do we have all of these practices? So first, when there is a solar eclipse and the moon is covering the sun, that means there's a loss of energy in Earth. There's a loss of energy because we're not getting that light, that heat, the radiation. We're not getting the vitamins from the sun. So there's a loss of energy. Because there's a loss of energy in our culture, it is said to stay home during an eclipse, not to go out, and temples are closed. And even if we look at nature, flowers also close. The birds stop chirping and animals retreat to their own homes because they're also trying to figure out what just happened. And during this time, when there is a loss of energy in the world, even if that occurs, it's also a great time for a meditator because the sun symbolizes our intellect. The moon symbolizes our mind, and the earth symbolizes our body. And when these three are in harmony with each other, then there's a great potential that we can harness within us. And so in this time, when we meditate or when we do our japa mantra, it is said to multiply 1,000-fold. So many Hindus during this time sit quietly. During the time that the eclipse starts till it ends, they sit quietly and they chant their mantras because it has a profound effect of multiplying. Not only that, but they keep their spiritual energy very, very strong while the material energy of the world is depleting. So they are protected from it. And they do not go out because back in the day, we didn't have these special eclipse glasses. So they asked everybody to stay home because it is not safe to look at the sun. And let us say if somebody were fascinated and just wanted to even peek in, it can cause blindness. So that's why during this time, in the Hindu tradition, it is said to stay home. It is also said not to eat or drink during a solar eclipse because the food does not have that energy from the sun, and we also don't have that energy to digest the food. The sun provides us with energy to digest food. That's why in Ayurvedic practices, it says eat before the sun sets. After the sun sets, it's difficult to digest food. So during an eclipse, one should not eat or drink anything. And even before an eclipse, it is said to prepare for meditative practice to keep our stomach light, to prepare for a meditative practice, because when we meditate, our metabolism is down, When we eat, we need our metabolism to go up because we need to digest food. So stay at home for those who can. Do sadhana, chant japa, chant the japa mantra or the prayers for those who can. Refrain from eating and drinking during the time of eclipse for those who can. And also before that, refrain from eating too heavy before that, because again, we're not going to have that kind of digestive power during the eclipse. And it is also said to bathe before and after. So before the eclipse, to bathe to prepare us for our spiritual practices, and after the eclipse, to bathe to get rid of any negative energy that may be there, not in our spiritual practice, but in the material world, in the material things that we have. Because as we said, materially, there will be some negative energy because the sun is blocked. And so that is why we follow these practices during a solar eclipse. So I invoke the blessings and the grace of Bhagavan Surya, the sun deity, on all of us. And may we all align ourselves spiritually at the time of eclipse and harness this deep power that's within us. Hari Om.